A violent jolt slammed me awake. My head cracked hard against something unyielding. Darkness. My wrists burned, bound tight behind my back, and a rough gag choked my screams before they began. The air was thick, heavy with the scent of wet fur, rust, and something else. Something sickly, sweet, and primal. The vehicle beneath me groaned, a low, relentless rumble. Panic clawed at my throat. I couldn't see, couldn't speak, but I knew I was moving. Then, from the front seat, a voice, calm as still water, yet colder than ice, sliced through the black. "You'll learn to obey." Every fiber of my being screamed for escape, but the van just kept moving, carrying me to an unknown, terrifying destination. The van lurched, then stopped. A blast of cold air hit me as the doors were yanked open, revealing only the dim outline of a small, dilapidated shack. Strong, rough hands dragged me out, my stiff legs useless, onto a packed dirt floor. As my eyes fought to adjust, a figure loomed over me. It wore my neighbor, Mr. Henderson's face, but the eyes were dead, inhumanly blank. Its lips stretched into a smile too wide, too slow. With unsettling care, it removed the gag. My throat was raw, but no sound came. It leaned in, its breath foul, a whisper scraping like bone. "Rule 1, it hissed, a horrifying mockery of Henderson's voice. "You don't scream, or I'll make you wish you hadn't." The unspoken promise of unimaginable pain hung heavy in the air. Without a pause, it gripped my arm, its touch surprisingly cold, and pulled me across the shack's gritty floor. A faint, dry click echoed from its joints with each step. In the corner, a massive wire kennel loomed, not for a dog, but something far larger, sturdier. Its metal bars gleamed dully, carrying the faint, musky scent of wild animal, and something else, something vaguely human. I stumbled inside, the door clanging shut with a sickening finality. The bolt slid home. It stood over the cage, watching. Then, from beyond the walls, a mournful howl rose, impossibly close, twisting into a low, guttural chuckle that chilled me to my core. Minutes or hours melted away in the oppressive silence of the cage. My muscles ached and a raw hunger clawed at my stomach, a desperate void that gnawed worse with every passing second. Then, it reappeared. In its hand, it held a dark, glistening mass. With a casual flick, it tossed a chunk of raw meat through the bars. It landed with a wet thud at my feet, the overpowering scent of fresh blood and iron flooding my senses. It was a ragged piece, dark and uninviting. "Eat," it crooned, its voice a low, coaxing purr. Revulsion choked me. I shook my head, fighting back the bile. It sighed, a long, drawn-out sound of disappointment. Then, with deliberate slowness, it extended a hand and peeled back the skin on its fingers, revealing not flesh, but dark, polished bone. "You will," it stated, the words a cold, unyielding command. Night fell, not gradually, but as if someone had snuffed a candle in a dark room. The shack became a tomb, colder, the air growing heavy with a new kind of silence that pressed in on my ears. Then, the silence broke. The shack itself seemed to breathe around me, groaning and creaking with an organic rhythm. Whispers, thin and reedy, slithered under the door, brushing against my ears like phantom cobwebs. I pressed myself against the cold bars, straining to hear. Then, the scratching began, not outside, right at the lock. Slow and deliberate, as if something was testing the barrier, trying to get in. Every fiber of my being screamed for it to stop, but the silence only intensified, waiting. Dawn dawn was a cruel mercy, painting the shack's interior in weak, dusty light. My muscles were screaming, my mind a hazy mess of fear and exhaustion. But what I saw outside the cage ripped through it all. In the yard, bathed in the pale light, were 3 figures. They were human once. Now, they crawled on all fours, their movements jerky and unnatural. Their clothes were tattered rags, their hair matted, but it was their eyes that froze me, blank, vacant, staring ahead without recognition. Their tongues lolled out, panting faintly. They moved with a disturbing obedience, like dogs waiting for a command. Trained. The word echoed in my mind, a fresh wave of horror. These weren't just prisoners. They were pets. The Skinwalker was busy with something by the far wall, its back to me. A sliver of reckless hope ignited in my chest. Now, my chance. I scrambled against the cage door, twisting, pulling. The latch, weakened by age or intent, finally gave way with a soft clink. I was out. My legs, stiff and wobbly, found purchase on the dirt floor, and I bolted, bursting through the shack door and into the cool morning air. The trees loomed, a dark promise of cover. I ran, lungs burning, feet pounding, the silence of the woods my only companion. I made it a mile, maybe more, before the world shifted. The trees moved, not with the wind, but twisting, converging, forming an impenetrable wall. And in my path, standing tall and utterly still, was the Skinwalker. Its face, still Mr. Anderson's, stretched into a grin that revealed too many teeth. "Bad pet," it purred, its voice echoing from every direction at once. I crumpled, my body failing me, a whimper escaping my gagging throat. It didn't hit me. It didn't need to. It simply walked over, a fluid, unnatural grace to its movements, and knelt beside me. Slowly, deliberately, it extended a long, slender finger. Then, it simply pressed its thumb into my wrist. There was no sudden impact, no blunt force. Just a steady, increasing pressure. The pain wasn't the worst part, though it burned with an icy fire. It was the sound that truly broke me. A sickening, low grinding, like gravel underfoot, but coming from inside my own arm. My bones protesting, cracking. It held the pressure, the terrible grinding continuing, until I thought my wrist would simply disintegrate. When it finally released, my arm felt like shattered glass, but the sound was what echoed in my ears, a testament to its precise, intimate cruelty. Days blurred into an endless cycle of aching joints and the constant searing pain of an empty stomach. My body, pushed to its limits, began to turn on itself. Food, any food, became an obsession. I found myself staring at the dirt floor, imagining scraps, my mind twisting. Once I caught myself, horrified, licking the cold metallic bars of the cage, a desperate, animalistic urge I barely suppressed. The Skinwalker, from its vantage point, watched with an unnerving stillness. When I pulled back, gagging on the taste of rust, it clapped its hands slowly, a soft, dry sound. "See?" it crooned, its voice laced with perverse satisfaction. "You're learning." The Skinwalker lay in its corner, seemingly asleep. Its chest was unnervingly still, but its eyes remained open, unblinking, fixed on nothing. A desperate gamble. I slowly, agonizingly, tested the cage door. It creaked open. Every muscle screamed, but I moved, inch by agonizing inch, creeping past the motionless figure through the shack door. The night air was cold, sharp against my skin. One foot out, then the other. I stepped onto the ground outside, relief surging through me, and then my foot caught on something. A thin, almost invisible line stretched taut, a tripwire made of human teeth. The sound wasn't loud, just a subtle snapping and the dry rattle of the teeth. From the absolute darkness of the shack, the Skinwalker's low, delighted laugh erupted, echoing through the night. It didn't touch me. Not yet. Instead, it dragged one of the pets, the shedding woman from before, to the center of the shack. Her blank eyes held no fear, only a disturbing, eager anticipation. Then, the Skinwalker began its work. It didn't strike, didn't beat. It simply took her limbs, one by one, and bent them backward, impossibly. Her bones didn't just break. They snapped into new grotesque shapes, reforming under its touch with wet, sickening cracks. Her body twisted, contorting into something alien, yet she remained silent. Her only reaction, a soft, continuous panting. I was forced to watch. Every horrific detail burned into my mind. The Skinwalker turned its dead eyes on me. "This could be you," it whispered, the words not a threat, but a simple, chilling statement of capability. My mind reeled, trying to process the absolute violation I had just witnessed. The twisted, silent figures in the yard, the ones whose bodies it reshaped without a whimper. They weren't just victims. The Skinwalker knelt beside my cage again, its voice dropping to a low, intimate whisper that bypassed my ears and settled directly in my mind. "They didn't fight, little pet," it murmured, its smile stretching with a predatory amusement. "They begged to be mine. They offered themselves. Were you?" The truth hit me like a physical blow. These deformed creatures, these pets, weren't merely broken. They were volunteers. They had chosen this. Chosen it. The horror wasn't just what it did, but what it was capable of making others want. The Skinwalker's words echoed, a chilling testament to the willing damnation of the others. Just as despair threatened to consume me, the shack door creaked open again. The Skinwalker's head snapped up, its dead eyes gleaming. It lumbered to the entrance. It returned moments later, dragging a new prisoner. Not an adult, but a kid, no older than 10, eyes wide with terror, struggling feebly against unseen bonds. The Skinwalker's smile stretched, slow and predatory. It licked its lips, a sound like sandpaper on bone. "Fresh meat," it purred, its gaze flicking from the terrified child to me. "Unless you want to take their place." A new agonizing choice, a chilling race against time. As dusk bled into a truly horrific night, the shack itself seemed to lose its form. The walls writhed, timber groaning, twisting, the whispers from within now a cacophony of hungry, slithering sounds. The pets in the yard began to howl, a rising chorus of distorted human misery, their forms shifting unnaturally in the dimness. The Skinwalker stood in the center of the shack, its outline blurring, its skin splitting and stretching as it grew, becoming something impossibly tall, its limbs elongating, cracking with wet, tearing sounds. Its head tilted, and a voice, now multi-layered, ancient, filled the space. Time to choose. The air vibrated with an unseen energy, the moment of ultimate decision pressing down on me. My mind screamed, a whirlwind of terror and self-preservation. The kid, whimpering softly, was closer to the Skinwalker than I was. Their small, innocent face swam before my eyes. Fresh meat. Take their place. One thought, stark and terrible, eclipsed all others. Survival. With a desperate, animalistic surge of strength, I shoved myself forward, rattling the cage, and screamed, "Take them! Take them! Take the kid! Please, just take them!" The Skinwalker paused, its grotesque transformation momentarily halted. Its multiple eyes forming in the stretching flesh, fixed on me. A low sound rumbled in its chest. Then, it laughed. A cold, hollow sound that filled the shack, devoid of mirth. "Oh, pet," it hissed, its voice echoing from its vast new form. "You just failed the test." Its enormous clawed hand shot out, impossibly fast, seizing my shoulder. The touch was burning cold, like liquid nitrogen searing my flesh. Its teeth, long and needle-sharp, sank into my skin, a searing agony that exploded through my nerves. Fire spread through my veins, not pain, but a consuming heat that reshaped me from the inside out. My bones screamed, cracking, snapping into new configurations. My fingers fused, stretching, elongating, twisting. My spine arched, forcing me onto all fours. I tried to scream, to unleash the raw terror and pain, but my throat constricted, distorting. What emerged was not a human cry, but a sharp, desperate yip, raw and animal, a sound of utter, final surrender. The world now exists through a new lens, low to the ground, senses sharpened, but my body moves on all fours, obeying instincts that aren't my own. My mind, a trapped observer, is horrifyingly clear. I remember everything. The van, the rules, the choices, the terrible betrayal. But my body, it simply obeys. I crawl beside the others now, my fur matted, my tongue lolling. Sometimes the shack door opens and a new prisoner is dragged in, their eyes wide with the same terror I once felt. And when I see their terrified faces, an old familiar hunger stirs, and I find myself salivating.